dodging like strays. Diving out the gutter, I am real like the frame. Wrapped in shadow, but they shine like noon. For hearts beating, sink with the.
All right, welcome back to the final episode in season 1. We want to thank all of our supporters, our subscribers, our followers for following us, for liking, commenting, and sharing, and sending us DMs, sharing some of your stories about things you're going through in your life. So we really appreciate it. Without further ado, I got my boy Tim with us today. Couldn't make it today, but he will be back with us for the next season. And we're going to go ahead and get started. Why is it easier for Black men to make friends with strangers than people that they might have grew up with or partners? So I'm going to throw it at you, Tim. Why you think so?
So one time I think it's 19 Keys. He had this metaphor or this example, I'm going to say example for right now, where he says, when you're doing anything, right, people who know you, they can call, drive over, knock on your door, walk over, whatever it may be, because they can pretty much set the timer to where you're at. Now, if you're advertising what you do, let's say you're selling T-shirts, you put it on social media. Someone who don't know you, right? Let's say you're in New York or you're in San Francisco. Somebody in Florida like, oh, man, I see your vision. I love it. Why? They don't know you. All they're doing is buying your brand. But people who know you normally always hit you with and I know you hear this all the time. Oh, man, you going up. I remember when you was broke as hell, bro. I remember when you ain't had, man, you remember when you used to ask me for rides? Now look at you, man. You got a Bentley now. Oh, you got a girlfriend. I remember he couldn't get no girls.
Mm-hmm.
I still have to say, sometimes it's people buying into our brand, whether it's you giving the full scope of the truth or not. Other people tend to kind of get it like, you're not going anywhere. I know where you're at. I can still see where you're at. Other people see where you're going. So, why I feel that Black men prefer speaking or advertise to strangers opposed to people who know us. At least that's kind of what I've seen.
Yeah, I think my 2 cents about it is I think that easier to kind of to people that maybe you don't know as well because they don't know you like that. Like parents, your father, your friends, they just have that one narrow-minded perspective about you. But when you open up to someone else, they don't know much about you. So maybe they can have a different, more idea about what you want to do in your life, and they might gravitate towards that.
For sure.
So it's really a tough question to answer because it's like the perspective of not wanting to open up to maybe strangers per se. You still have that idea that maybe they might think something is good for you versus the people that has been in your life and they already seen all your visions and goals and you might have failed multiple times around them. It's easy for them to just dismiss, like you're saying.
Exactly.
So it's really, I think it's had a lot of friends, even during doing this Gains Effect podcast, during my other talk show. I'm in a lot of men's mental health support groups. I think it's just easier, like being Black men, to open up because we all been through the same experiences in life.
No, for sure.
To some degree.
Yeah, of course.
And I think, go ahead.
No, sorry. I was gonna say I just think it's a lot of complex layers to us as Black men anyway. You know what I mean? Tug of war, right? A lot of us are still in that realm of being stoic. Keep all your emotions inside. Hold this. Don't cry. Don't do this. Don't do that. Where others are like, okay, I'm prepared and I'm ready to open up. I'm ready to tell whatever. Good example I can tell is for some relationships, not all, where a Black man does not feel safe in telling what his emotions are to his lady or whoever they're with, right? Because of the mentality may be, for one example, I have a friend who told me that his lady would cry all the time about, hey, you're not giving me emotions. You're not speaking to me. So one day I think he had like crazy day at work. Finally, he just let it all out. She looked at him like, well, you a lot, like you're doing a lot. I don't know how to take that. So then for him, it's like, okay, well, it's time to zip it back up, lock it back up, toss out the key. I'm not going to do it again. I'm not saying that that's an easy thing, but it's that tug of war, right? So sometimes the best preparation, if you think about it, is a stranger. This person has no judgment on you. They don't really know you, and you're just airing it all out. So even if, let's say, the person gives you the same reaction, right? Like, oh, that's too much, I can't handle it. You can just walk away and just be like, hey, I might not see that person again. And I'm not saying that's all black men's thought process, but I feel like that's sometimes what it falls down to. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Like you're saying, to speak on your point about being in relationships, when I was with my old ex, just was a very good support system for me. I would cry. She would just feel like, what are you doing crying? Man up.
Yeah.
It's that she's reinforcing the negative connotation that men shouldn't cry. And so how can you be vulnerable with your girl or your partner in that state? Like somebody that you're intimate with, right?
Right.
And you would think that they supposed to be there and have your back, but then you're doing everything that society is what I'm against for. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And I don't understand, like, if you can't be vulnerable and open up to your partner, who can you be with? And that's something that you're building with. And I think it goes back to, that men are providers for household and stuff like that, and they have to always be on guard and tell their, lead the household. So it leaves them no time for being able to open up about how they're really feeling.
Yeah.
Almost like synonymous to that saying happy life. Like you're making her happy, but at the same time, you're not sharing or opening up about what's going on with you. Everything gets to be around her, and you're just like, well, I can't open up because then she's going to think I'm weak or I'm soft or not the man that she envisioned me to be. And I think and I talk to a lot of my guy friends about that. And it's just like, we sit back and we have these conversations and we're like, don't be like, having that same problem. Minds. And I think it's just really sad that, we're taught even in the first place to not be vulnerable. Like, why do we have to be stoic? Why do we have to be hard? Up, like cry? Why don't, that's a recipe for disaster.
It definitely is. And you were saying that, I was just thinking about something too, which is kind of, I'm pretty sure it's on every black man's mind, but it's never been placed in this aspect. Imagine, if you will, right? You go to the movies and a black woman goes to the movies. Y'all both seen the same movie, right? Now, there's no way you can deter from what happened in the ending because she saw it too. That's pretty much black men with our emotions. So, like you said, being the stoic, non-crying, can't cat an eyelash, puff your chest out, you're Superman 24/7, 365. And double down on this metaphor. The movie is Superman. Remember, in any Superman movie you've seen, there is a point where he does go weak. You've seen that in the movie. Her is like, nah, but the movie's an hour and 53 minutes. Maybe he go weak for 23 minutes, but for the rest of that, he's tough. So now she looks to you like, hey, be that minus those 23 minutes. And you just scratch your head like,
that's impossible.
Thank you.
And we have that we haven't even dealt with.
Yeah.
We have the burden of society telling us that we have to be this way. Have pressure from friends and family wanting from us, like all of these things and combinations, and there's no way that we can be hard and ongoing and what she wants us 24/7. I also think, though, starting to open up more about their feelings into their relationship, and they're communicating better. Like I said, like my friends, we talk about this from time to time. And remember when it was a time where I didn't communicate or open up to the partner, and that was really detrimental to our relationship. I didn't feel safe. I didn't feel heard, or I didn't feel like I was part of the relationship. Over time, when you learn to communicate with your partner, you can be able to count up more to them. And it doesn't necessarily have to be romantic. It can be friendships too. You're able to open up to your friends is important. But to get back to the question, like, why should people actually open up to strangers? Because it all goes back to, like, they don't know you. They have an outside perspective. They might have thoughts about maybe what type of person you are, but they don't know you fully, like your family and friends. So they can provide that neutral perspective of whether giving you that real advice that you might need. They might see something in your life and you're like, what, that's a good point. Nobody else has said that to me in my life. And I've had friends that came into my life and they said, you know what, this is something that you can do better to that business or to get better in your life. And
Mm-hmm.
I no one else ever taught me that, not even the people that I've known for years.
Exactly.
That I've known for years and never even said that about me. I'm like, how come she didn't tell me that about me? Not all criticism in a stranger is bad. Sometimes it's actually useful.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And then once you kind of up maybe to a friend, a stranger, maybe that will carry over into your friendships and relationships.
Exactly.
You know, you never know about that.
Exactly.
But what's a different angle that we can kind of this narrative?
Angle that you can kind of get from is, again, you are opening up. The biggest thing that we're always looking for is a receptive energy. And let's being honest, most often than not, we want an overall positive feedback. So I also can say that sometimes it also has to delve in fear, right? Before we even approach the stranger, whoever it may be, right? And you're trying to speak on anything, whether it be a thought of, like you said, a business idea. It may be going on with your inner workings of yourself, relationship, what have you. The fear of what is going to be the response. Talk to my parents, or I've talked to my lady, or I've talked to my homeboys, and they told me this. Is the stranger going to say the same thing? And if it aligns, what do I do then? Do I then try to, everything that I thought and try to do what was said since both parties said the same thing, or do I just keep on trucking along? And that's, I think, another thing too that also kind of into it that it really talked about a lot, because again, it's a mindset of what is going to be the overall response, and sometimes how will I react to it? Another thing too.
Yeah, an angle that saying like how what their response is going to be, but also how you're going to respond to them.
Yeah.
Like somebody can give you advice, or they can see that maybe you're not being receptive to that, and then you're like a square one, like never really got things resolved or anything like that.
Yeah.
I think also to the nail on the hammer. I think also that not talkers. We're not talking. Learn that about. We don't like to talk as much as women.
Yeah.
That could be a bad quality to have. Like good, like in business, you have to talk as much as you need to talk to sell your proposals and stuff like that, or just to land the job itself or whatever.
Yeah.
In general, we're really not much talkers, so it's really hard for them to like. It might be hard to open up to strangers too.
I agree. I feel like for most men, too busy thinking of the blueprint in our head of what we're gonna do next, right?
Yeah.
How many times have you been, even with friends, right? Not even just relationships, you gone and done some, why don't you let me know? You know what I mean? Like you already kind of go out, you know what I mean? Whether it is something negative. And like you said, that trait that definitely is a negative trait, but I'll put a little spin on it in the aspect of we're also doers by trade, right? Needs to be done. Whether we know the full scope of it or not, we're going to go and try to do it. And I would say, this can kind of balance a little, but try to meet us to the halfway point. Like, I think it depends on the question that you ask. Like, say, for instance, I'm going to go change my tires on my car, right? You as a friend realize that my car hasn't been riding right. Man, your tires is messed up. You about to go? I was already going to get on that. You're already, and I know that's not the easiest thing. I know, because I know friends who tried it with me and I tried it with them. But what it takes now is observation, right? How well, and now I'm talking about not even the strangers now. I'm talking about more so the people who know you, right? Or who you observation. If you kind of observing things, you can just start kind of what questions to ask. You know what I mean? And I feel like if you start meeting most Black men halfway, I think it'll get a little easier. Probably even relinquish a lot of what they hold in. They may even just start telling you because they feel like, oh, I'm safe. You're already observing some of the things I'm doing. You kind of my routine or my movements a little bit. So yeah, let me give you a little bit more. Let me give you a little bit more. At least, again, that's kind of opinion and what my thought process is into that.
Yeah, I'll add to that. Saying earlier, a lot of men like don't open up either to their partners, or sometimes they don't open up to strangers.
Yeah.
They have a lot of insecurities about themselves. Sometimes men have speech impediment issues where they might not be able to speak properly, and they might think somebody's going to make fun of them, or they might have disabilities where they can't pronounce certain things and stuff like that. or they can just be antisocial. Like I used to be really antisocial, I was younger. Like you think I was weird. I was very weird and awkward as a 15-year-old boy. I just remembered when I was back in high school, I just didn't like to talk to people that well, and I would be very guarded. I didn't really talk that much when I was, with my sister. Like just didn't talk that much. But I think I got older, I started to understand the power in just being able to open up and express whatever's going on in your life. Like you only so much you can, yourself.
For sure.
And if you don't tell your partner or your friends, people you just known in general about what's going on, all of that's just going to explode and it's going to come out, and having anger issues, all of the stuff that young men probably are going through right now.
For
and
sure.
that's why
For sure.
killing themselves and stuff like that.
For sure. For sure.
And I just think that it's just pitiful that so many people have died, Black men, of suicide. They said 4 out of every 1 men kill themselves, and that's sad. And they're killing themselves more than women.
Yeah.
I think if they would have been able to talk to someone or open up to anybody, would be in a better position. But some men are just not ready to have those conversations with
For sure.
with someone else, let alone themselves.
Exactly. Yeah. I just think that when
we created this safe space to kind of men the power and the hope. It's okay to be vulnerable and to express yourself, because I know men don't like to talk. Roam, sometimes drink. They might just have conversations. I've observed that in a lot of the situations that I've been in. Yeah. So it's like, hey man, what you doing? Or if you're not talking on sports, it's this like very narrow-sided conversation. It's not a lot to talk about with me. I noticed that.
For real.
There's power in being vulnerable and being able to open up someone. You don't want to do it with your partner. Being able to open up with your bros is really important. And I'm going to keep stressing that, because I'm in a lot of men's mental health groups. Before I even got on, I was able to hop on with some brothers that I've known for a while to just talk about what's going on in our lives. And I'm in the Black men's mental health group, and Making Friends group. It's so many avenues to kind of complete strangers and kind of know them. But I think you have to be receptive to wanting to open up and with other people.
For sure.
But that's pretty much wraps up the conversation tonight. Has been a really rich season. I have had a lot of guests on. I have a lot more guests that want to come on next season. Got an HIV specialist coming on. Okay. We got a guy that's coming on. We're talking about interracial dating. So I know that's always a conversation.
Oh yeah, that's always.
So we got a lot of guests lined up for next season. I'm just so excited to continue to kind of resonate with men of all walks of life.
For sure.
But other than that, you got anything else you want to say, Will, before we close this out?
Man, drink water, keep hope alive. We were just talking prior to, if there's anything that you're trying to do, don't wait. Just put the gas on the pedal. Worst case scenario, you'll be back to where you started. Best case scenario, you'll be creme de la creme. Just what you can. And folks, give people their flowers. Show a lot of love. That's it.
All right. And I'm going to say, fellas, no matter what's going on in your life, be here to support you. You need help, call the crisis line. If you need food or shelter, contact 988 or contact 211. All the support system here to help you so you don't feel like you're alone. And stay blessed, brothers. And on that, we'll see you guys next season. See ya.
Like dodging light strays, climbing out the gutter, I am real like the frame.